Thanks for joining us. Now, lawyers for Nana Appiah-Mensah, the Chief Executive Officer of defunct gold dealership Men's Gold, have filed an appeal for a reduction in the amount set for his bail bond, arguing it is way too high. A week after the Accra Circuit Court granted him bail in the sum of 1 billion cedis with 5 sureties, the Men's Gold CEO is still in custody because he's been unable to satisfy the conditions. His lawyers on Friday filed an application asking for a softening of the conditions, including a reduction in the bail bond from 1 billion cedis to 5 million cedis. We'll shortly speak with Niama Amatefio, who has been speaking for the company in the past year. Let's first hear details of what's contained in the application filed by Namwan's lawyers and more in this News Desk report.
He has monies of ours with him. He has to be out to be able to work. He has to be out. He has to be a free person. It's a fundamental right.
I believe that no youth should be sabotaged. It has come to bear that we must relook at the way we handle issues in this country.
Those were customers of the defunct gold dealership firm who thrashed the Accra High Court last Friday, hopeful that Nana Appiah-Mensah, popularly known as Nam1, would be set free to enable him start the process of paying them their locked-up funds. But their hope turned to despair when the court, presided over by Jane Harriet Akwelekwe, granted him bail in the sum of 1 billion cedis with 5 sureties. He was also charged to report himself to the Ghana Police Service every Wednesday, although lead lawyer Kwame Ekufo has pleaded with the court to reduce the amount. The presiding judge said under the circumstances and the amount on the charge sheet, she had been generous with the bail sum. Nana Appiah-Mensah remained in custody as his lawyers were unable to meet the bail conditions. On Friday, August 2, his lawyers filed an application arguing the bail sum, which is equivalent to $200 million, is tantamount to a refusal of the bail application and would be extremely difficult to raise. According to them, this is especially so because Mr. Appiah-Mensah's assets have been frozen, adding he is not worth the amount and that to set a bail bond of, quote, that onerous nature, unquote, is to impose impossible burdens on him. They further argued that their plea for a reduction of the bail bond is more emphasized by the fact that even under the Banks and Specialized Deposit Tracking Institution Act 2016, Act 930, under which he had been charged, the stated capital of a bank for incorporation is the cedi equivalent of $120 million. Mr. Appiah-Mensah's lawyers appealed for the bail bond to be reduced to 5 million Ghana cedis, which they said is realistic and reasonable, given that his entire assets and revenue streams have been taken over by government. They say their call for the bail bond to be reduced will help the accused to pursue efforts to recover monies and pay customers.
And I've been joined on the line by Niama Amatefio, a spokesperson for the defunct gold dealership Men's Gold. Thanks for your time. Now, what's been the challenge really in meeting the bail conditions for Nana Appiah-Mensah?
Well, thank you very much, Araba. Very good evening to all your viewers. If you recall, on the 26th of July, when our Chief Executive Officer appeared before leadership, Janet Harriet Akwelekwe, when she was about to grant the bail application, which was moved by our lead counsel, Kwame Ekufo. One of the things that our lawyer advanced forcefully was the fact that in considering the bail application, she should put into consideration the fact that as we see, the state has confiscated all the assets of the bail accused. And that, as we speak now, his bank account has also been confiscated by Yoko. And for that matter, in considering the bill, that should be factored into it. The judge did not take that plea, and then he went ahead based on the quantum that was quoted by the prosecutor, AFC Asari, which is 1.68 billion. The judge then granted a bail in monetary terms of 1 billion Ghana cedis, with 5 sureties, 3 to be justified. Well, we came out, we were excited about the bill, but we have a huge challenge at this point to raise or to put documentation which should be close to almost 1 billion Ghana cedis from the 3 sureties who are to be justified. We tried our possible best as a team to get the landed properties to the CID. But as I speak to you now, we've not been able to meet the 1 billion condition that is to be in terms of property that will allow our boss to get bail.
That's quite surprising, Nee, because considering he owned a company that took in hundreds of millions, possibly billions of cedis from customers, surely the company should have some officers who can stand surety for him, no?
I just told you that all the company assets, including his assets as well, have been confiscated by the state. And you know, when you are granted bail, if you stand accused, you don't use even your properties as surety. It is the people that are supposed to step in who have to act as guarantors or guarantee to your bill that are supposed to bring landed documents, which is equivalent or close to the 1 billion Ghana cedis. And you and I know for sure in Ghana, I mean, how many people own property worth 1 billion Ghana cedis? We are talking about almost $185 million. So it has not been easy. We've done our possible best, as I've told you. The 5 sureties we've given to the CID, they've come. We've also given documentation, landed properties to the CID. As I speak with you, this afternoon when we left the place, the CID is even yet to value the landed properties that we're giving to them to tell us how much it's worth.
Right. Now, I'm reading the application you filed. It says that the sum of 200 million United States dollars as bail bond is, and that's the equivalent of the 1 billion cedis, is with respect tantamount to a refusal of the bail application as same, and it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to raise within this jurisdiction. What's the guarantee that this application that you filed will be granted then?
Yes, Araba, you know for sure that in Section 96 clause 3 of the Criminal Procedure Code in 1960 as said, it reads that when granting bail, the amount and the condition of the bail shall be fixed with due regard to the circumstances of the case and shall not be excessive or harsh. That is what the Criminal Code says regarding to bail. So we consider that 1 billion Ghana cedis is a bit on a higher side. That is why our lawyers have put in a review of the bail application so that the judge will consider and reduce the bail application in order for us to work at it and meet it and to get our boss out of police custody.
Right. And speaking of your boss, have you been able to speak to him? Nana Mensah, how's he faring? He's been in custody for a week exactly today.
Yes, it's almost a week. Remember, he got in last 2 weeks on Thursday.
Right.
On Friday, was arraigned before court and he was remanded for 2 weeks. He was granted bail on the 26th of July. And after 6 he's still in police custody. It's almost a week, which means he's been in police custody for 3 good weeks after spending almost 6 solid months in Dubai custody. So it's not been easy for him. I have spoken to him. I saw him last week. And I mean, as much as he's in good spirits and high spirits, human. I mean, you don't expect him to be excited about what is happening. Of course, he will not be too much happy. But then again, it's very hopeful. He believes that as much as the team is there working to get his freedom, he will definitely get his freedom when we are able to meet all the conditions when the judge reviews the bail application.
All right, and finally, the bail application for the reduction in the bail bond will be heard on Tuesday, correct?
Definitely on the 5th of August, on Tuesday, exactly 9 a.m.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. That's Niama Amatefi, who is spokesperson for the defunct gold dealership, Men's Gold. Now, the bank accounts of electricity distributor PDS has been frozen by the Financial Intelligence Center following the suspension of its concessionaire agreement with the government of Ghana. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah, who announced this on Joy FM's Super Morning Show, says the freeze affects accounts into which collections from electricity subscribers have been deposited. He, however, explained measures have been taken to ensure the action does not affect the payment of workers' salaries for the July and August 2019.
Everything that is being done must be done in accordance with the law and the various agreements. So you need a fine-tooth comb to go through it without emotions, but having these very difficult conversations with the various actors, the Americans, our colleagues at PDS, the ECG team, the lawyers, and making the point that in this particular instance, this is what the law says, and therefore this is what must be done. The brief we have is that that is the procedure that the Energy Commission has to use, and it's going in accordance with that procedure. But importantly, or most importantly, in the interim, ECG and PDS officials are working to ensure that ECG has access to those sites and that those sites are not compromised.
So you can assure Ghanaians that this will in no way affect how power is supplied?
The brief I have is that we do not expect that there will be interruptions in power supply as a result of this ongoing transition.
The workers, we know that the workers have now signed official agreements with PDS and they have moved to become workers of PDS, even though previously they were working for ECG. Now, the Deputy Minister of Energy, William Ewekwedu, has said that they will receive their salaries at the end of the month. Who will pay them?
It is my understanding that during this intervening period, this 30-day period when a proper determination of the matter is being made, both the ECG and the PDS side are engaging on who has access to the resources and therefore who has to pay them. You do know that as at now, the Financial Intelligence Center, in fact, even before we made the announcement on Wednesday night, one of the very first things that had to be done was to get the Financial Intelligence Center to freeze all the accounts of PDS that were holding cash and resources that had been collected from subscribers to electricity.
Well, the assurance from the minister appears to have done little to assure the workers who are not too sure about the full implications of the suspension of the PDS contract. General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union, Michael Nyantechi, says a lot more clarity is required about what the suspension means. He spoke on Top Story on Joy FM.
There are issues relating to the day-to-day running of the company, because as these issues are raging on, every day workers must go to the field. There must be fuel for the vehicles to run, other resources that are needed for operations. So are they going to make available funds for any of these activities as they fall due? This is a going concern. Fortunately, one thing we can say with some degree of appreciation is the fact that since PDS took over, payment of workers' salaries have really been very encouraging. So as we speak, the July salary for staff... it's one thing just making this abatement that it will not affect operations. But what are the practical measures that have been put in place as we speak today? Because supplies are being used day in and out. In the interim that you have put the accounts virtually out of the reach of PDS, is it ECG now that is going to be given access to the funds and then start procuring the things that are needed for the running of the distribution business? I thought these ones should have been clearly outlined before coming out with any announcement, because you should know this is a company that is not running. You are not stopping for some of these things to be done, because every day since this press statement came out last Tuesday, the company business must be going on. Workers must be going out. Supplies have to be used. And these are not things that you can say you have accumulated for a long period. When fuel runs out, where are you getting the money immediately to go and procure? So I think a lot of things need to be clarified. And again, we still believe that many of these things, we are running it in some manner which perhaps if we take our time and outline the challenges involved and we are clear where we are going, we can avoid many of these confusions. Some of us who have followed this process a bit keenly from 2013 thereabouts when these things were ongoing, knew that the way we were rushing this process and we as a nation seem to have closed our minds and ears to any other alternative, and even the speed with which we are carrying out some of these assignments and a major procurement activity like giving the whole access of ECG to a private entity, the speed with which we're doing things, I'm not surprised that we are getting this kind of issues cropping up.
Now, Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu is demanding an apology and retraction from MP for Ejumako Enyan Esiam and former Deputy Finance Minister Cassiel Atoforsen for what he describes as defamatory and malicious comments he made about him. In his latest epistle, the former Attorney General warned the MP has 7 days to render an unqualified apology, otherwise he'll be compelled to take action to vindicate himself. Here are excerpts of his letter to the MP. And it reads, on 12 July 2019, the Minister of Finance, in answering questions in Parliament, was reported to have stated that the government paid over 280 million cedis since it assumed office in 2017 out of the nation's judgment debt, which stood at over 679 million cedis. The Finance Minister, in answering those questions, did not mention the names of the institution or individual persons to whom the alleged judgment debts were owed or paid. Interview you granted to the Parliamentary Press Corps while standing with them outside the Chamber of Parliament, in which you made the said international deliberate, I'm sure he meant intentional, deliberate, malicious and defamatory statements about me and 2 other entities have been published on air, repeated and discussed extensively on several of the print and electronic media. The government you served as Deputy Minister for Finance paid me by Bank of Ghana check number 101-866-3147-3188 about 2/3 of the agreed total computed sum. I've never been paid any sums of money either by your own government or the present government, which is not covered by the terms of settlement and consent judgment. And by this letter, therefore, demanding an unqualified apology and retraction from you, Cassiel Atoforsen, of your defamatory statements and publications about me, alleging the dubious payments of judgment debts to me as the Special Prosecutor within 7 days. Now, a $100,000 ICT facility constructed by MTN and the United Nations Development Program at Adidome in the central Tongu district of the Volta region has been abandoned and left to rot. But even in its sorry state, thieves broke into it and made away with the center's 20 computers. Jojo Kobina visited the community and reports as the district assembly takes time to refurbish the center, many schools within the Adidome enclave are struggling to provide ICT infrastructure for their students.
Wow. ICT class in session at the Komboni Roman Catholic School in Adidome in the Volta region. 30 students huddled together to learn ICT, but in the absence of an ICT center, they improvised with a storeroom. Fortunately, the school has 2 desktop computers. The teacher also uses his personal projector to project the computer screen onto the wall to teach the pupils.
Cut and paste method. Is that okay? So, what is the first procedure when moving file from the desktop? When moving file from the desktop into a folder. Yes. Click on the folder you want to use. Click. Or right click. So, this is our target folder. Is that okay?
Peace loves ICT lessons, but she says standing for 1 hour in the storeroom for lessons due to lack of furniture is making her lose interest. Windows are shut to make the room dark enough for the students to see the projection on the wall. But the room is also poorly ventilated, creating discomfort for the pupils.
See, the way we lack the computers, anytime we are in here to learn, some of us don't participate because we are many in numbers and the computers too are only 2. So anytime our teacher is teaching, some of us, we only fool around because we don't even know what he's doing due to the lack of computers.
This is just one part of the story. The other part is that MTN and UNDP in 2012 unveiled an ICT center to ensure that 10,000 children in Adidome get access to computers and have a practical feel of lessons. This appears to be the sad end of a beautiful project. In thick bushes, defeating the objective of the center. Even more shocking is the theft of 20 computers from the center. So here sits a $100,000 facility, home to spiders to freely build their webs and multiply. The entire room is covered in dust, a sign the facility has been neglected for quite a while. This happened because the ICT center could not pay for electricity bills, although they enjoyed free internet. The assemblyman for the area, Kenneth Komla Logo, explains how the center collapsed.
The place was closed before I became the assembly member. So I asked who was supposed to pay for the electricity bill, and he told me that they have to create an account for the place, that any money that comes into the account will be used to support the place. When the money is not up to, there they can fall on the district assembly to support them to pay for such bills. But unfortunately, the money that has been generated during that period cannot be accounted for. When I probed further, he told me he has been sending the money to the chief of the town.
District Chief Executive of the Central Tongue District, Thomas Moore, blames the current state of the center on mismanagement. He says it has been difficult convincing the chief of Adidome, Togbe Kwasinyi Ajiman IV, to hand over the center for more capable managers.
The project I have inherited, and I was told it was a collaboration between the chief of the town, Togbe Kwasinyi Ajiman, and MTN. It was mismanaged and closed down. We scheduled a meeting to discuss with him because there were issues concerning management. Even after the renovation, there must be proper management going forward. So my interest was in the management and the renovation. But he couldn't give in. He thought he should be responsible for the management. It became an issue we were trying to resolve. Then the report came that chiefs broke in to do away with the computer or the set of computers.
He added the district assembly refused to take up the bills because the said chief had refused to account for monies charged patrons of the center.
As at then, if this assembly would just be paying electricity bill without having any hand in the management, you take money, people go there, use the facility and pay something. The assembly should just be paying electricity bill. As at then, it wasn't free. They were paying something. So I feel that out of that proceeds, they could pay for electricity.
Since we are the school closer to the facility, and we have to benefit more from that place. So as it is closed now, we don't have access to much computers for our practical work.
Joy News contacted Togbe Kwasinyi Ajiman IV for his side of the story, but he declined the interview. Meanwhile, every single day of indecision and inaction from the District Assembly on what it intends to do with the ICT Center ultimately affects the quality of ICT education in Adidome.
Now, let's cross over to Parliament, where Kwesi Parker-Wilson is standing by with a wrap to the day's activity. And we do understand that a while ago, the government, the majority side, filed the amendment bill motion. The minority is opposing that. In fact, they abstained from voting. Parker, bring us up to speed on what's happening.
Okay, so just as you mentioned just a while ago, the Finance Committee presented their report on the proposed tax increase as announced by the Finance Minister, Kenneth Friata. Now, particularly the energy sector levies. Now, just a while ago, Parliament passed or adopted the report put together by the Finance Committee. But then the minority actually opposed, indicating that they are not in support of the tax increase. Now, government or the finance minister made that clear to Parliament that the reason why they are increasing the ESLA is basically because of the energy sector liability. Now, the ranking member on the Finance Committee made it clear that that is not true. All the revenues they have generated from the levy hasn't been put to good use. So there is no justification for the increase. But of course, through voice votes, the majority and of course all the members shouted yes, they wanted the report to be adopted, and the report was adopted. The minority in the voice voting, they abstained from the voice voting, so they didn't vote, and that is why they adopted the report. But of course, they made it clear to all of us that they are not in support of it. Now, just before that, the luxury vehicle levy repeal bill was also approved by Parliament. The earmark funds capping and realignment amendment bill has also been approved by Parliament, and as we speak, the communication service tax is being considered by the House. So the members of the House are debating and, of course, scrutinizing the report put together by the Finance Committee. So that is what is happening at the moment. So one can say that Parliament has approved 3 out of the 4 proposed tax increase that the Finance Minister announced in the mid-year budget review.
All right, many thanks, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, our parliamentary correspondent there. And you do know that Parliament is set to rise today, so business will go deep into the night. But as you heard Kwesi Parker-Wilson say, the ESLA amendment bill was passed, but without the participation of the minority who opposed it, and argued that they will not be part of the increment because it will compound the hardships of Ghanaians. You're listening to Joy News Prime. I'm Arba Kumsin. We're taking a short break. You're welcome back. Now, government has prioritized 7 major road projects in the country for special attention. The projects include the ongoing Pokwase Interchange, Kumasi Inner Roads, and others dotted across the country. President Akufo-Addo, who announced this at the official commissioning of the Accra Traffic Management Center, said the projects, when completed next year, will address congestion and speed up economic development. He's confident it will be delivered on time and within budget.
Work will commence this year on the dualization of the beach road from the Black Star Square in Accra through Teshi, Nungwa, up to Tema Community 3. As part of the project, an interchange shall be constructed at the current Nungwa barrier. These works are to be financed by the China Development Bank. The loan agreement has already been approved by Cabinet and by Parliament. The construction of the Pokwase interchange, it is about 40% complete. The original contract was for a 3-tier interchange. However, through efficient management, the interchange has been modified to a 4-tier interchange within the same contract sum. This project, when completed, will bring massive relief to commuters on the Insawam Road and Awoshi, Pokwase, Kwabenya roads. The project is scheduled for completion by October 2020.
Now, the Accra Traffic Management Center aims to address congestion and enforce road regulations within the city. The 8 million city project will coordinate 48 traffic light signals to reduce travel time. It will also monitor the status and condition of the road corridor in real time for rapid detection of incidents for emergency response, among others. President Akufo-Addo indicated the project will solve Accra's congestion challenge.
We find ourselves in a situation where the upsurge of vehicular traffic, coupled with rapidly increasing urban population, is putting a lot of pressure on facilities in our cities, especially on our road infrastructure, and also sapping productivity. That is why the Accra Traffic Management Center is such a welcome initiative. The center, the first of its kind in the country and in West Africa, will coordinate effectively our capital's traffic light system so as to guarantee efficient communication within our traffic light system, thereby ensuring a much smarter way of dealing with congestion on our roads. In all, a total of 41 traffic lights have been upgraded between the new planned assembly plant at Achimota and the Central Business District of Accra. The upgrade includes the changing of traffic controllers from, quote, isolated intersection controllers, unquote, which could not communicate with each other, to, quote, interconnected adaptive controllers. This allows the controllers to communicate with each other along the corridor. With the use of detectors buried in the road, information is carried in real time to the Traffic Management Center. This allows engineers to observe directly the traffic flow pattern along the corridor and address any incident on the road that will impede the flow of traffic. With the Traffic Management Center, engineers can directly change the signal timings from the center instead of the old system, whereby they had to carry their tools directly to the field to effect the change. The new system has an integration with the public transport system, like the Ayalolo buses, so that priority can be given to public transport at the intersections.
Now, the Accra Region Police had to be called in to dismantle a blockade of the Accra-Kumasi Highway Friday morning by some traders at Amasaman who were protesting the demolition of their structures. According to the traders, the demolition was carried out by unidentified men they believed were following the orders of the municipal chief executive of the area. Joy News' Henry Kwesibedu visited the scene and his report is read to you.
Scores of traders clad in red arm and headbands blocked the Accra-Kumasi Highway to protest the destruction of their structures. It took the intervention of the Gan West District Police Command to reopen the road to traffic. The market, mostly made up of wooden structures with concrete floors, were on Friday destroyed without notice to the women. According to the market women, Municipal Chief Executive Officer Clement Nilamte Wilkinson sanctioned the demolition exercise and wants government to intervene.
Even if the market space was unauthorized, we should have been given an early notice. We have loans to pay.
For 5 years, 4 years, they are supposed to one. Never ended up one market. Employee minimum so.
They have also employed people here. It was risky when we saw it by the roadside. That is the reason why we relocated. The assemblyman in the area and the MCA are behind this demolition exercise. We were supposed to repay our loans today. I saw the cars and the bulldozer in his apartment. He is to blame for the distraction. People have lost monies and goes amounting to 3,000 Ghana cedis. We are stranded and don't know what to do.
The New Patriotic Party youth organizer seconded the claims of the aggrieved traders.
Because of internal elections, the MCE feels threatened. He feels some of us are not supporting him. Even if we are not supporting you, this is internal elections. We are all NPP members. So if you want anything, just have close discussion with us. But you don't send people to come and destroy people's way. Our mothers have taking loans and they are selling. You've come to destroy everything here. Look at the destruction that has gone on here. This is not the first time, this is not the second time, this is the third time. As Chief Executive Officer of a municipality, if something is happening in your constituency, what do? You come there to come and ascertain, have first-hand information of what is happening. This is the third time. He has never been here.
The municipal chief executive, Clement Neelamti Wilkinson, denies the allegations.
The people who came here, according to them, they said the person is Clement. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not the one. And the person is called Clement Jato. I'm not the one. You can go to the police divisional commander. The person reported before they reported before they came here. So you can go there and you can listen to them. So now I was at the office when they called me. This is what has happened. That is why I came here. Okay, but they keep on saying because the person's name is Clement. And I said I'm not the one. So the person. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm here.
What is the reason? They are claiming that just because you are running for election, that is why you came to this.
But no. But do you think if I'm running for election, because I'm running for election, rather I will do this?
The traders say they are now stranded as their creditors pursue them for payment of loans they took for their businesses. Amasaman Divisional Police Commander Superintendent Christopher Komega says the police will maintain their presence in the area to monitor the situation. Henry Kwesibedo's report for Joy News.
Now, former Information Minister Fritz Bafo is calling for the strengthening of the National Media Commission. The commission is mandated primarily by the Constitution to promote and ensure the freedom and independence of the media. As we continue to put the spotlight on the need to uphold a freer media in Ghana, we've been speaking to Mr. Bafo, who says the lack of resources makes it difficult for the Commission to do its work effectively.
Have regulations, all right, and if you have, according to the Constitution and everything, then you can actually mitigate the negatives or the excesses. I think that really the Media Commission should be given more bite. I was a media commissioner for 2 terms, and it was difficult because we're supposed to be being financed by government. We didn't get our finances. It was, I think, only about 3 months ago that I got a salary after, salary arrears after 3 years of leaving. Yeah, so that's how bad it is. And then the kind of monies that should come to the Media Commission to do their work, for them to monitor and have oversight over the media, is not there. There's also a running battle between the Media Commission and the NCA. All right, when we're talking about political, we're talking about radio spectrums and talking about the reach and all of radio stations and television stations and all that. Right now we have a situation where a lot of the television and radio stations haven't made their statutory payments. That in itself is a problem.
Now, weed smokers and drug peddlers have taken over Pankrono RC Basic School for their nefarious activities. Authorities there say they're scared to stop them from perpetrating their activities even when school is in session.
Headmaster Michael Nifakaindonko says the situation opens both students and teachers to danger.
Sometimes the school will not even close, and you find them behind the block, smoking and doing all other things that do not augur well with our teaching and learning here. They come in groups, and then you find them smoking around as school is still in session. And we are finding it difficult to send them away. And it's like we are not getting the support from the community and the stakeholders here. The school is turned into a free hotel in the evenings, afternoons, and during holidays. When in the evening, sometimes you come around and you find people here enjoying themselves here and there. Sometimes the security man here gets it tough sending them away, and will have to sometimes report to the police to come in. Many a times that we have even arrested some of them and took them to the chief.
Mr. Donko spoke at the school's Diamond Jubilee Climax in Kumasi. He appealed for government and public support to improve infrastructure to enhance academic work.
We have just opened a new JHS school, and our final pupils will be writing next year. And we want a school that will train people who will come out with practical knowledge. So we are trying our best to get accessories that will help them. For instance, we want science laboratory, we want a home economics lab, we want ICT center, and we also want PTS workshop, so that in short, these young ones will be put into those practical workshops to have practical skills. They have to feel the things that they do. What they learn, they have to come to the lab to practicalize it, so that they will gain much knowledge about whatever they are learning.
Let's stay in Kumasi, because if you have plans of burying your dead anytime soon, prepare to pay more for the services of professional weightless in Kumasi. You may have seen a social media post announcing an impending increase in the fees they charge with prospective patrons, and it's now expected to pay 2 times now Ghana cedis. So it's been doubled. The fees has been doubled. So Ohiming Tewia caught up with one of the professional wheelers for a conversation in Kumasi, from where he filed this report.
Amit Dokli obliged an interview, taking time off a workshop to speak with me.
You do it normal. When you call us and book for a funeral, we come to your place, we watch grounds, we assess it, and then we price you.
She says though they work in groups, they are yet to officially form an association.
We don't have an association, but I've learned recently that there are so many groups coming up.
Oh, okay. So you don't have an association where you meet regularly to discuss your businesses?
No, I and my groups, we meet, but we don't meet because our husbands has died for a long time. So whenever we decide to go to a place, we just get up and go.
Miss Dokli tells me high demand for their services amid increase in fuel prices and general economic hardship has pushed them to adjust their fees. She reveals 6 Delge singing criers who used to charge 5,000 Ghana cedis a day will now provide the service for between 7,000 Ghana cedis and 8,000 Ghana cedis.
The demand has gone high. So whenever we went for a program and we shared the money couldn't do anything. So we have to discuss it and raise it.
Ms. Dockley says clients could pay even more, depending on the status of the deceased and bereaved families, as well as the form the wailing would take.
It depends on the funeral. When we went and the funeral is, you know there are some funerals you can't charge them high. But some you can charge them. So it depends on the funeral. Well, as for me, I don't cry and put myself on the ground, no. But I cry and roaming about. Crying and roaming about. That is what we did.
And how much is that one?
Oh, it depends. It depends on how you want it. You want us to do it as the price goes up. Let's say 6,000, 7,000. That's our minimum price that we.
How many, let's say, from your group can you send to a particular funeral? Let's say
5 or 6.
Okay. Clients who live abroad and have lost touch with deceased relatives provide ground for criers to make more money.
At first, we charge 5,000, 6,000 for a higher funeral or a funeral which is big. But now it has raised to 8,000, 7,000.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohiminteria reporting.
7,000, 8,000 for crying services. Wow. You're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Araba Kumzin.